Hey, folks, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. And today we're doing something different. We're not talking about a movie, but rather a video game. And I think what's going to be a series that Rob and I are doing on the core Metal Gear Solid video games, because Metal Gear Solid was a game that kind of broke new ground and showed how video games aren't just games. But before we get started, I'd also like to introduce my other guest, freelance film critic Michell Kisner. I hope I said that right and didn't get it wrong. Thanks for coming on. I know you and we talked a lot on Facebook about video games, and you just finished Metal Gear Solid, so I thought it'd be great to introduce you to it. But before we get started, I think we'll start with Rob, then Michelle, and then me. Metal Gear Solid, what was your introduction to it? What did you think of it? Um, how did it blow your mind or not blow your mind when it first came out?
I can go first. I have a long story about my introduction to it.
Yeah.
So, back in elementary school, obviously, since I'm disabled, you know, the bus drivers, they take like three people to school. It's like one or two, three people. So, you got like a personal connection with your bus driver. She told me that her husband had finished this game called Metal Gear Solid, that it was terrific. And they actually she gave me the game just to keep because he finished it. So, I was like maybe 10 years old at the time, maybe nine, I don't know. But I didn't get very far in the game because I was still young. I obviously didn't understand much of it because I was so young.
Mm.
But I was hooked. I never finished it until Metal Gear Solid 2 came out when I was in like junior high school or high school. That game I loved and I did understood. So I went back and played the first one and loved that too.
Wow.
And I still
Okay.
have the original copy that the bus driver gave me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my copy somewhere, but I don't know where it is. It's been a long time. Snake. uh, s-
Uh, well, the way I was introduced to it was so I'm old and I played it when it came out. And so I think I was like 17 when it came out. Um, and it just blew my mind. It was like, because I've been playing games since Atari, so I've seen basically the entire, pretty much the main evolution of games all the way up until now. So it's like crazy that it's evolved so much and like a relatively short amount of time, in my opinion. But going from pixel 8-bit games and in to PS1, which is in PS1, Nintendo 64 era, it was kind of like the dawn of 3D polygon type gaming. So they were still trying to figure out like how does 3D gaming work. They were still trying to figure out control schemes. How do we display it? What do we do? And I still think about like how before these games, it they in the like say like Super Mario 64, they had to introduce you to the concept of the camera,
Mhm.
and they had to, and I like that they made the camera like a Lakitu, like a physical thing to like make you understand that there's a floating camera with you that's behind you. They literally had to like invent like third person view, right? Like, so as a kid you're like, whoa, whoa, it's like crazy. I mean, now obviously, like, a lot of people have grown up only knowing that that exists, but they had to literally introduce brand new concepts, and you had to rewire your brain to learn a new way to play video games in 3 dimensions instead of 2 dimensions. And then Metal Gear took that one step further and introduced like movie style cinematic techniques that really weren't seen in games. I remember Ninja Gaiden had
Mhm.
little cutscenes, and that was the first time I ever saw a game that had cutscenes. Um, but Metal Gear did it in a way that was really filmic, and Kojima loves film, and you can tell that he understands the language of it. And it was also the first game I ever played that broke the fourth wall,
Mhm.
and in really creative ways. And it literally blew my mind. It was like one of like the inflection points, I think, in gaming, where I was like, wow, games are like a whole different ball game than I had previously, discovered. And not trying not to talk too much, but after replaying it recently, and now I'm a film critic, I can even more spot the how he used film influences in his games. Plus, I've just played every Kojima game since then, right? So like I've seen his entire career and like how he does things, and it's just like I just think it's so cool that he always wanted to be a film director, I think, and he found a way to do it through the language of video games, which people used to think they were two separate things, but they've kind of combined into like a new medium.
Yeah, a couple things you brought up that I think pretty much relates to my experience. I think most people's experiences with Metal Gear is that the first time I played it, I remember I like read about it in magazines, but they're like reviews for the VR missions thing. So I go to a local Blockbuster when they still existed, and I rented VR missions, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't see the hype. And then there was like this thing for extras or trailers. I go on the trailers and I open up the trailer for Metal Gear Solid, and right away when they're playing The Best Is Yet to Come, I've never heard anything like that in a video game before. Something that was like moving and emotional, and then there's like these story beats and these scenes, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that game? And then I had my mom take me to Best Buy. I went, I bought the game, I put it in my PlayStation, and right away I'm like, this is the greatest game I've ever played. I love how they implemented 3D graphics and turned them into a movie. And the most interesting thing is it's not just like a movie, but it's like a movie with a story that's better than most screenplays in most films. And the fact that it was directly interactive, like, was incredible. And yeah, the way they broke the fourth camera when Psycho Mantis is reading your memory card or having your controller shake. And then, of course, Kojima, like, he loved to implement the actual like hardware into his games, which makes them hard to emulate. Like, because if you want to play Metal Gear Solid 2 or 3, well, you need a pressure sensitive controller to slowly draw away your pistol. Because if you don't have that, you're just, you're going to have to find another way to draw it, and it's not going to work as well. So yeah, that was a game that, like, in terms of music, in terms of story, in terms of emotion, like the things it was handling was, a lot. They're talking about nuclear deterrence, they're talking about loss, they're talking about war, and really, it's like a game that's about peace more than anything. It's about how nuclear deterrence is kind of a dumb concept because, like, here's the thing: if nobody has a nuclear weapon, no one has to be worried about getting destroyed by one. But it's covering like all these things, and there's so many layers. And it was a game where it was a lot of cutscenes, but you wanted to watch them because they were all in game. And it was something where I'm like, wow, the video games are changed forever now. Because now, we wouldn't have Uncharted or all the millions of other games that are like movies if it weren't for Metal Gear Solid. So Kojima deciding not to be a director and actually deciding to be a game maker was one of his best decisions because, I think especially now we would take him more seriously if he came out with a game than a movie, although I'd love to see what he would come out with a movie. But yeah, that game just totally was incredible. Like, and not only that, the gameplay was great too. It wasn't just like a lot of games where it's like cinematics with moderate gameplay. It's like it was cinematics with full-blown amazing gameplay that you could just stretch out into a full game. So what do you think makes something like Metal Gear Solid a work of art compared to something that is like a typical Hollywood blockbuster then?
I think you sort of said it, that it's about these themes like nuclear war, and that was one of the first times you've ever seen that in the video game. Like, it's arguably like the first video game with mature themes like that. Obviously, it's not always mature because Kojima's silly as hell too.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's what I would say. You've got these serious themes. You've got voice acting that was actually good. Like, look at the original Resident Evil. That voice acting is terrible.
Jill
But,
Sandwich.
yeah. This is the game you had like real voice acting. You could say that people are giving performances. It's got like an actual script, like that you can take seriously. And one of my favorite things about every Metal Gear Solid game is that you don't just fight a boss. Like, you get like their entire backstory of who they are, and you actually feel for them too after every fight. Yeah, those are some of the things that immediately come to my mind.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting the way that Kojima frames his villains. All of his villains have backstories, like you said, and they're all have something about them that you can empathize with. They're like really layered and nuanced. especially the first Metal Gear Solid. I feel like it's kind of like everybody is a victim of the war, right? And the military industrial complex and government oversight. They're all from different countries, but they've all been betrayed in some way by the system that they're trying to live within, or even at some points protect. And they really go, like, especially like Metal Gear 3, they really go into that, like being betrayed by a country that you love with all your heart. And I think Kojima is so, he is so like into the aesthetics of war. Like you can tell he loves, he's like a, I always call him a Western otaku. Like he is like, you know how like we're, you know, like we're like, oh my god, Akira. He's like that with Western stuff. Like
You're an
he,
otaku too? Yeah.
yeah, he loves all stuff Western media. Like he is super into it. If you follow him on Instagram or anything like that, he's always posting about movies, Western movies, like stuff that he's into. And you can tell that he loves like John Carpenter and like war movies, The Platoon, and action stars. But it's through a uniquely Japanese lens. And it's also kind of like socialist and progressive, because like, you know, Kojima's a boomer. Like he's older than he looks. Cause I mean, bro, like is like a vampire or something because he
I
doesn't
think he's
really like
almost
age.
60 now.
Yeah, so he's
Wow.
like maybe Gen X, older edge of Gen X, maybe boomer, but you know, he just like he loves the aesthetics of war, but he also understands that war is essentially bad for humanity, and he deconstructs war through his games. Like they're some of the most staunchly anti-war games I've ever made. Even though he is like he fetishizes like mecha and like mechanical stuff, and he loves guns and he loves like all the military jargon, and he loves all that stuff. You can tell he's super into it, but he understands at the same time that these things are like hurting us, like they're bad for us. And he's like weirdly prophetic like with his stuff too. Like every time he makes a game, I'm like, don't Kojima, don't make some game about some shit. I'm doing the Kojima thing now. You know? don't make no more games, because every time you make a game, some shit about it comes true, and then it's like, you know, like he predicted like COVID basically with Death Stranding and all sort of stuff. It's just like he's just very thoughtful about things, and I think that a lot of people, some people don't like him because like a lot of genius people, he's a little egotistical, I would say, and like, you know, he likes it's pretty obvious he likes attention. He also likes hanging out with celebrities and famous people. He likes Hollywood. He likes that kind of stuff. But I think he's a thoughtful kind of guy too, and he's more than, I think he just admires film so much that he wants to put these people whose work he admires into his own stuff. Like everything he makes is like artists that he admires, and he'll pluck them and he'll be like, please be in my thing. I love your stuff so much. I want you to be like, he has Del Toro in his games and NWR and like what, like the stuff that people are in his games like crazy, but it's just stuff he likes. He's literally just a nerd that likes stuff and puts shitty likes into his games, which I find hilarious, honestly.
Yeah, he's kind of on a tour that way where he's a little like more creative than Tarantino in some ways, I think. Like I like Tarantino movies a lot. You know, I love Pulp Fiction and all that. But it's like Tarantino's kind of like, "Oh, here's the thing I'm a fan of. I'm just going to copy and paste this into a movie and spin it with my own dialogue." Where you have Kojima where he's fans of things, he puts it in, but then he makes something that's just like way deeper than it outwardly appears to be. Because yeah, there's silly stuff in here. You know, there's like guys pooping their pants, and you have like giant mechas fighting each other, and then like in the middle of that, they're like, I was a victim of, you know, war as a child, and they were killing us and making us and like feeding us drugs. And I know that's the second one, but you know, like you get stuff like that. And somehow, because it's the medium of a game and it's stretched out to like 10 to 20 hours, like you kind of go with the flow with those jokes. Because like if you're watching a Metal Gear Solid movie and it's supposed to be serious, and all of a sudden like Snake puts like a box over him, and you see like his feet going around, he's like like walking around, you're gonna be like, what is this? You know, but because of that medium, like he knows how to handle tone and he knows how to handle nuance. And it's like one of those rare things where he can make a complicated story but you want to keep rewatching it because you keep seeing a lot of the layers develop more and more. And I don't get a little ahead of myself talking about Metal Gear Solid 2, but like you were saying, he predicts the future. And like when you get to that codec call near the end, when you're fighting the former president on, top of Federal Hall, and then you have the AI talking about how there's no free will and AI controls everything, and we're part of a system, and none of our decisions are really our own decisions, but based on what other people tell us. Yeah, that kind of predicted where we are now. And I think it's because Kojima is just a guy who, when I interviewed David Hayter, name drop, he told me that Kojima is just like a guy who was ahead of the times. He was always like reading on what's going on, and because he was well informed, he was able to make something, that was extremely resonant. Because that's the thing with a lot of directors. I'll never forget one day I was in film school and I was in this history class, and one of the students said, "Why do we need to learn history and science and all that when we want to make movies?" And I'm like, because the best movies involve history, math, and science. Yeah. And if you don't know that stuff, or genetics, it's all in our genes, all that stuff Naomi says, like if you don't have all that, then your movie or your game is not going to be as interesting. But I really like, and one thing about it is like the boss fights. We'll get into some fandom here. What was your favorite boss fight in the game, and who had like the best like death monologue afterwards?
Obviously, I love the Metal Gear Rex fight. That's a fun fight. But I'll say Sniper Wolf, not necessarily just for the fight, but because I love Otacon's little subplot where he's starting to fall in love with her, and you have that line. Is it like anyone can fall in love anywhere on the battlefield? I know I'm getting the line wrong. I haven't played it in a while, but
yeah,
I think that's a great line. I think
can love bloom on a battlefield?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think love can bloom even on a battlefield?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just like a whole touching subplot within the game. It shows like another layer of everything the story in the game is.
Yeah. I mean, that fight got to me because like you're fighting this person. She hurt somebody that Snake is probably falling in love with. And instead of like standing over her dead body and he's like, "This is for Meryl."
And that makes you feel complicated too about what you're doing and all that.
Yeah. Like he actually connects to her as a human being, and she tells him about how she grew up on the battlefield and watched people like die in front of her. And then Big Boss, they never explained how he was named Saladin in any of the games, but Big Boss, aka Saladin, finds her and adopts her. And man, Snake's got a really fucked up family past. Like that guy, I don't think family therapy would help him. Yeah.
I also want to add that I'm not counting the part before the fight. We have to run all the way back to like the beginning of the game or whatever to get like the card key to get the sniper rifle. Yeah, that part's annoying. The fight itself is fun though.
Yeah. Well, the worst part is that like I have like a third party PS3 controller and I was playing it through that on there. So like when you gotta like bend around the curves like to get the rifle, I never could bend properly, so I'd always get caught and just have to murder everyone on the floor. That game made me realize how old I am because I was fighting Liquid on top of Metal Gear Rex, and it took me like 10 tries to kill him, and it usually just took me like
punch, kick, run away.
Yeah, punch, kick. But then
that's what I ended up doing. I was like, dang, because I forget that like halfway through the fight, his hitbox changes in some way to where you can't do the 3-piece combo on him anymore.
Yeah, like he'll dodge you, and then he'll do that thing where he like runs right towards you and tries to tackle you, and then you run out of time, and the timer might blow up, and Meryl might die. I always thought Meryl was dead in the original ending. I thought that was the canon ending, and then 4 came out, and they're like, "Oh no, she's actually alive." But
so what you're telling us is that you stuck at tapping circle.
I was gonna say you gave in during the torture.
Oh, right away I just hit select. I quit. No, the trick is you get a spoon and you just rub it really fast against the circle button.
Or you have a friend that can tap freakishly fast. Which is what I had.
That was my brother-in-law, and his face the whole time when he was doing it, he just looked like constipated. So it was pretty.
Don't use turbo. Oh no.
My friend always looked like what's so hard about this? I don't get it. We're like looking at him like, yeah, you're insane. I don't know how you're doing this. It's like a superpower.
Yeah, I think it is. It's like one of those things with your brain where it has to connect to it, connect to what you're doing right away. I don't know words. Kojima would word it better than me. Uh,
I think my
um,
favorite
yeah,
fight is Gray Fox
yeah,
because I like everything about his character. Just kind of like he feels like he needs to atone
mm,
for what he did, and he can't find atonement because like he literally can't die pretty much. Like that suit protects him so much that he can't really die. So the only thing he can do is feel pain. That's his only atonement. And then I like that there's like a payoff later again when you're fighting Metal Gear Rex, and there's a point where he's like, "Please take me out," and you can aim the stinger at him, but it won't let you do it. Like,
mhm.
and it's the one time,
No, I can't do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny because it's like the one time Snake won't listen to you, right? Like, because you
Mhm.
control Snake, but Snake feels so strongly that he's like fighting against the player's input to not do something, which is like a cool little, like, just a cool little detail, I guess. But also, he just has a cool design. I like the way he looks. I love the idea of like cyber ninjas.
Mhm.
That's a cool idea. I did find replaying it. I played it on original hardware, so I played it on a PS1. Uh, it's a little clunky, but
Yeah.
it's just like there's and like and people are probably gonna watch this and gonna be like blasphemy, but that shit clunky sometimes, man. Like the way you have to equip all the fucking ID cards all the time. I just
I
just
hate
say
that. Yeah.
just say I have it. I just have the card, bitch. It's in my pocket. Why do I
Yeah.
gotta hold it? It's stupid.
That's the
It's
only
using up
thing
a
that's
slot.
better about Twin Snakes is that you don't have to equip the card. The rest,
And there's too
yeah.
much backtracking. Rob talked about it a little
Yep.
bit. That's not even the only time you have to backtrack. The other towards the end, where you have to fucking take the card and you have to cool it down, and then you gotta take it back to the thing, and then you gotta heat it up, and then you gotta walk through the cool part. And if you're in the cool part too long, it cools your card down. So you have to what the hell, man? This is fucking
Yeah.
filler, Kojima.
Yeah,
That shit
I
was
like.
filler. You're wasting my time.
Yeah, and I think Kojima knows that, and that's the greatest thing. Kojima's like, "Oh, I know this is annoying you. I don't give a fuck. Enjoy it." Because like, no, the last time, like when I had to heat up the card, I'm like, "Well, this is gonna take a while." So I just like while Snake was standing in the steam room, I just went outside and had a cigarette, until it just fucking heated up. But yeah, that was the coolest thing about Kojima, and is like and I mentioned this before, is how he implements the hardware into the games. Like I can't play Twin Snakes on my computer because once I play Psycho Mantis, I can't switch the controller ports. Like it won't read it unless I
Are you
like
using
quit
are you
and
using an
reopen it.
emulator?
Yeah, I was using Dolphin
If you
because
use Dolphin,
yeah.
I think you can go in there and you can like change the controller port. There's a way to get around it because I saw somebody talking about that actually.
Ah,
There's a
yeah.
way to like change the controller port in the emulator to like read as controller too. Conversely, I think you can also like shoot the statues in the back. Like he has
Yeah.
statues of his face, and if you shoot him, it like distracts him because he's like supposedly I heard that's like his real face. That's what his face looks like
Ah,
for real
yeah.
or whatever. But I think that's the alternate way you can do it as well without changing the controller ports.
Yeah. One thing in Psycho Mantis's death that always kind of threw me off when he died is like it's a very serious scene. He's talking about how he burned down the village to kill his family,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of sounded like Ren from Ren and Stimpy the whole time. He's just like, "I killed those idiots!" like the whole time. But yeah, like that game had those scenes where you're like, "Oh, I killed this guy, and now I feel guilty for killing him." And I think that's why in the sequels they're like, Kojima's like, okay, now you have a tranquilizer gun. Now you don't have to
Yeah.
kill anyone. Although they die anyways, like when you shoot them with the tranks, like in the next cutscene, they got blood all over them. I'm like, wait, I use a trank gun. What? But he would do cool things like
Kojima
that.
said, "Fuck your cannon." Said they all died.
Yeah, exactly. I don't give a shit
That
about
is
your cannon.
interesting that you bring that up. I never really thought about how like you could kill people more so in the first game, and then in the other games he gave you more peaceful options. That's a good point. And then he even made like Death Stranding's entirely centered around the idea of killing people has like these dire consequences where it like blows a crater into the earth. It's like really bad to kill somebody. But yeah, I never really thought of that. Like, it actually was weird to me when I was replaying it because I was like, oh man, I'd just be shooting people. Like, there's no like there's nothing pushing me to not kill people. In fact, some parts you just have to. You can't even get past them without killing people, really.
If you're like
that was
me and you
interesting
hate
choice.
sneaking, it's just fun killing everyone.
Yeah.
You enjoy all the killing. That's why.
I also wanted to say about the gray fox fight. That's one of the first times, at least I can remember, like a sort of dynamic fight arena where like you're completely destroying that whole room while you're fighting each other. Like objects around you are like breaking and interacting with them. It looks cool.
Yeah, the physics in the game were like
Right,
really ahead of its
exactly.
time because like everything was kind of like interactive, everything could kind of explode. You used your environment to your advantage because like his whole concept of the game was like I think he watched like I can't remember that like maybe Escape from Alcatraz or something like that. Like movies about prison escapes. And he's like, "Well, what if you played a game where you break into the prison and then you got to break out of the prison?" And
With
that wasn't
ketchup.
yeah, with ketchup, exactly. And that wasn't like fully realized until Metal Gear Solid 5, but the original games popularized the stealth genre because there were stealth games before it. The only one I can think of is Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2.
Siphon Filter, that comes to mind.
Yeah, did that come after Metal Gear? Or?
I think it was probably after.
Yeah. Because Siphon Filter had stealth elements. Siphon Filter 2 really had stealth elements where it was a pain in the ass because, like, it was super trial and error. Like, if you got caught, like, right away, you're fucked and, you'd have to do it again. Where
I don't remember when it came out, but there's also a Mission Impossible game that had
Yeah,
stealth in it.
I have it. For N64.
Yeah.
And it was based on the show, where you actually play as Jim Phelps instead of Ethan Hunt, who was like a character that was created for the games. But
when did the Hitman games come out? The 2000s?
Yeah,
I
think
so.
so.
Like PS2 era, I think maybe.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember if they made one for PS1 or not. I guess
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the from IO Interactive, the new James Bond game is awesome. It's so good. And it's not like Hitman. It's not like just trial and error you screw up. I mean, I'm old, so I just put it on easy. So then, like, when I play it again, I'll put it on medium, but I just want to enjoy the game for right now. But how do you think the game gameplay-wise, like, changed itself up, Because it went from stealth to action to, like, kind of, not interactive cutscenes, but you would go into them. How did it implement everything so well and so seamlessly? Well, I can go first, but well, the thing is, like, we never had games that use the in-game engine for cutscenes. Like usually you would see a pre-rendered cutscene on PS1, and back then pre-rendered cutscenes were incredible. Like I'll never forget when I played Final Fantasy VII, and you have the whole thing where you see Midgar and they pull the camera out and you're like, whoa, and then they like mix the like the scene where the train's coming into the Midgar station or whatever, and Cloud jumps out, and all of a sudden you're in the gameplay, and it's like seamlessly. Yeah, it's like this game was like an evolution of that, where it was like, no, everything's in the game. We're not lying to you. We're not cheating you. We're not pretending like these are the graphics when really they aren't. Like this is literally you are part of the movie, and you can even decide the ending.
And
whether
also, going back to things like the torture chamber, like you're interacting with the game while there's dialogue and stuff going on. Like, so more to your point, yeah,
like when you're chained up and then you like move the controller and Revolver Ocelot's like you're not going anywhere or whatever.
Unlike what Michelle was saying earlier about the first time you have like a 3D camera and you get to control the camera even during some of those points too.
Yeah, and I love the angles. Like when you push up against the wall, like they all had like different, unique, creative angles where you could see where the guards are and stuff like that. I kind of miss that in the other games because the other games it was the same angle. You go against the wall, you peek, you see a little bit. But
first person aiming kind of like opened the game up in a different way. I think Metal Gear Solid is the hardest of all the games because the first person you can't go into first person and like move. You can only just like look at stuff. Can't really. You can like shoot.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you can't really use it.
Outdated of the control schemes.
Yeah,
they're already clunky for sure.
If you like when you play Twin Snakes, you realize how easy the game is if you just had first person aiming.
Yep.
Like it's like a fucking every boss is a cakewalk in that game because of it. But
it's also what if Metal Gear Solid but a Michael Bay movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the cutscenes were actually directed by Kitamura Ruhei. I don't know if I'm saying
Okay.
his
He was
first
like an
name.
action movie guy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, he does like he did like Godzilla Final Wars versus
Uh,
like he did like a lot of kind of like genre films and action scenes. But yeah, he obviously Kojima likes his stuff, so he's like, hey, come direct the the cutscenes. That's why they're like super over the top. I do like Twin Snakes because of just how over the top and whacked out it is. It's like what if it's almost like somebody told me that Twin Snakes is like if Snake's telling you what he did. Like it's Snake's recollection of the events where he's like a million times cooler than what actually happened.
I like
Bro,
that
I
theory.
stepped on top of the missile when it was
And then the
firing at
backflip.
me, and then I shot a missile at the helicopter.
But
Yeah.
I find it to be less atmospheric because the
Mhm.
PS1 just has this really moody. There's like the way that their faces are shaded where you can't see their eyes, and it's kind of noir a little bit. It's got like a whole different vibe and lighting. And I don't like the changed music. And they also for some reason they redid all the voice acting, so like the
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
iconic
weird.
lines sound different. And
Yeah.
like it's not like a terrible game. It's just like not as good.
We were
Yeah.
talking about tone earlier. I think the tone just comes undone in that remake. Like it's
Mhm.
all often hard to like get emotionally invested in as like the original was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't really recreate lightning in a bottle, and Kojima's an auteur in a lot of ways. And he hired this other guy, and I feel like it probably wasn't intentional on Kojima's end, but he's like, "All right, I'm gonna let you direct the scenes because the guy said to him, "Hey, I want to make it just like your game," and Kojima said, "No, direct it like your movie." So then Kojima walks away, and he's like, "People aren't gonna like it," but I don't think he did that. But it
No.
came off that way because it is completely different. It's kind of like if a teenager directed Metal Gear Solid
Yeah.
with the Twin Snakes, where there's over the top action, there's silly cutscenes. They couldn't redo the dialogue because when they recorded it originally, it was like in some house and you could hear like traffic and stuff going by on the
Oh,
raw
really?
files. Yeah, yeah. So they had to re-record everything. And you could tell like they're just overemphasizing a lot of the lines in the re-recording.
Yeah.
Like there's like a line from Liquid Snake in the original where he's like, "Oh, that was just a cover story issued by the Pentagon." And then the second one, he's like, "It's a cover story issued by the Pentagon." And you're like, "All right, let's tone it down a bit."
The
But
guy that does
yeah,
Liquid Snake's voice is also the dude that does Leonardo on the Ninja Turtles, and I can't
yeah.
unhear it when he's talking.
Oh, I didn't know that. He just goes up to the other Ninja Turtles. He's like, "Brothers!" Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, Twin Snakes didn't work because it was trying to recreate something that was very special. And I remember Michelle at one point, she asked on Facebook, like, "Hey, I'm gonna replay this game. Should I play Twin Snakes or the original?" And everyone was like, "No, no, the original."
People lost their
Because
minds in that thread. I was like, what is happening? I'm just asking, man.
yeah, I mean, I have it on an emulator. I used to have it on a GameCube, but I sold it. But I do enjoy the Twin Snakes. I do enjoy the updated graphics. I do enjoy the first person shooting, although it does kind of ruin the revolver ocelot fight. But yeah, it's like a nice alternative where you can see like, oh, here's how something properly directed is, and here's how something that is directed by someone who maybe can't handle the material as well does it. But yeah, the difference between those games are vast. But like you were saying, there's an atmosphere in Metal Gear Solid 1. Like when everyone's talking, there's kind of this echoey sound effect where they sound like they're in the middle of like a military hangar.
Yeah.
The pixelated graphics make the like dirty walls look even dirtier. Like you just feel like you're in this grimy, cold, miserable place that you want to get out of, but you have a job to do. And yeah, it has, and also the original score. I felt like the score by the composer in this game.
Was it?
uh,
It wasn't Harry Gregson Williams yet, was it?
no, he was a
No, he
sequel.
did the second one, yeah.
Yeah.
Tappy Iwatsi and Norihiko. I'm the whole Japanese community hates me right now. Hibino. Those were like the two guys who did the score to the original, and I kind of liked how the original was more subtle, a little darker, a little more somber. And Harry Gregson Williams, he did do some amazing work on the sequels, but the sequels felt a little bit too much like, oh, this is an action soundtrack here, some techno beats I'm gonna press on the synthesizer, do 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 do, So like the music in that, I don't know how you guys felt about the music in the game, but that was what drew me in immediately. Is like when I heard the best is yet to come.
So I came across something interesting. You're talking about the Twin Snakes. They had a new voice cast or something.
Yeah,
I actually found out. So you're half correct. The names are different because they wanted to credit them as Screen Actors Guild members now. So in the Twin Snakes, they were credited with their real names. And they were using fake names in the original games.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something to do with Screen Actors Guild rules.
Oh.
But they were using their real names in the Twin Snakes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that was a cool thing that Kojima does in all his games, where like the character will come on the screen, and then like in the lower third of the screen will be the character's name, and then the
I love
actor's
that
name
too.
underneath. Yeah. I hope they do that with the movie when it comes out. That would be amazing. But
it's actually like, it was like not on purpose, but it's kind of a cool little thing at the very end of Metal Gear Solid when Meryl asks Snake what his name is, and he says David, and David Hayter did his voice. I don't think that was like, I think that's just a happy accident. I think his name's David in the Japanese version, obviously too, and like obviously that his OG voice actor in the Japanese version is named David. I just thought that was a cool little like coincidence that works really good with like the vibe of the games, like just the fourth wall breaking, that very last moment.
I don't know why I never thought of that before. Because David Hayter does his voice, and then his name is David.
Yeah,
and
I was just like, oh. And then I looked it up. I was like, well, let me see if that was on purpose or not. But it's just a happy little accident, and it's just like fun. I always kind of found it sad that like David Hayter kind of like got replaced by Kiefer Sutherland, who was inferior, by the way. He was not as good. He sounds like Kiefer Sutherland, which is, I'm not saying it's not a bad performance, but David Hayter's got the sauce of Snake. He's Snake. He's Snake's voice. And like that was like one of the things that Kojima did that I always like never sat right with me. I was like, I know he did it because he's like, oh my god, I could have Kiefer Sutherland, but like David Hayter's the Snake voice, man. He's like David Hayter said he had to audition every game to play Snake, which is crazy to me. I'm like, that thought you'd been a shoo-in.
Yeah, Kojima's a
How
genius.
Good do you have to do?
Yeah. Kojima's a genius, but he
prefers his famous friends more.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let me get Kiefer Sutherland, which he's fine, he's okay, but it's like canonically it doesn't make a lot of sense either, because you heard David Hayter in Metal Gear Solid 3 and in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and all of a sudden he sounds like this different dude. And I guess you could tie it into the whole twist is that he's not really Big Boss, but it's like, yeah, but then in the game before Phantom Pain, like the little trail, the preview that everyone played, Ground Zeroes, that was actually Big Boss. And it's like, if they wanted to do that, they could have had like David Hayter be Big Boss and then Kiefer Sutherland be Snake. But then again, people would see the twist coming a million miles away. But yeah, it was because he wanted to use his famous friends, which is dumb because there's something a lot of movies do that I was just addressing when I was talking about Mandalorian and Grogu, which is they hire like all these famous actors to do voices when there's just like a gazillion talented voice actors out there who can
do it better and cheaper.
Also,
sadly cheaper.
You're so used to the voice of the famous person that it just doesn't work. Like that Star Wars movie, I just keep picturing Jeremy Allen White as a slug, and it doesn't work.
Well, and the thing is, they put like a digital thing on his voice, so you can't even tell it's him. And then, like, when I read it was Jeremy Allen White, I just kept imagining, like, Rada the Hutt just like yelling, like he's in the kitchen, like, where are the fucking onions? Give me it now, or some shit like that. But
he just sounded far too human to me, which is weird because you're looking at a giant fucking slug. It just blows everything off.
Yeah. And it's like they didn't need Jeremy Allen White. They could have cast like anyone. Yeah, I mean, look at for instance, The Nightmare Before Christmas. You had like two different actors who voiced Jack Skellington. You had Danny Elfman doing the singing bits, and I think some guy named Chris Sanders or something like that doing the voice acting, and they did great. And you didn't have to blow your like half of the production's
Yeah.
paycheck
Embrace the
some-
advantages you have with the medium.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
It makes me
exactly.
think of Invincible and how the animation sucks on it because they spent all the money on big name voice actors and like, damn, you could
Yeah.
have hired some union guys, man, and put a couple more frames in there, a couple more frames animation, a little shading or something, you know.
Yeah, my interest is kind of like wane with the yeah, with that show a little bit. I don't know. I saw The Voice at the end. I liked it. I know everyone on the internet's like, "Oh, it ruined Homelander's aura." I'm
Yeah.
like, the aura of a rapist who goes
Yeah, he
around
always
and
had shitty aura.
What? What y'all like? Y'all must be Trump fans or something if you like Homelander. Yeah, I don't care if I you know alienate myself from that part of the audience. I don't need him. But yeah, I actually still have the soundtrack to the game too.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
dang.
And yeah, it's got all the only thing with the soundtrack that's missing. I wonder how like scratched up this disc is. Oh shit, it's in good condition too. But I burned it on my Mac a while, like years and years and years ago. But there's not a lot of tracks from like the cutscenes
Mhm.
where there's like music. It's all tracks from like the gameplay and
Yeah.
occasional cutscenes. But like this is the first game where you would hear the music and it would like get you emotional playing
Mhm.
the game. And now that's a common theme. I mean, that was something like the PS1 was huge because in terms of the sound department, like not only did you have Metal Gear soundtrack, but then you had Michael Giacchino who did the Medal of Honor soundtrack. And now Michael Giacchino is an Oscar-winning composer and basically does the score for like every Disney movie you can imagine.
I
But he
never knew he
started
got
out in
his
video
start doing
games.
that. I never
Yeah.
knew that.
Yeah, Medal of Honor is those are I think that's his best work more than the movies that he's done. Like some of the work he did in Frontline is absolutely incredible. But going back to Metal Gear, what do you think the game is saying about freedom and humanity?
You can go first. I haven't played
Uh,
it in so long.
I think the main theme running through Metal Gear Solid is that you don't have to be a slave to your environment or to your upbringing or to your genetics, that you are the only one that makes decisions for yourself. Even if you're put into situations that you can't control, you can eventually work your way out of them and do what you think is right. Because like everybody is kind of like either they're under control of the government or they've been hurt in some way, they've been abused as a child, and they're trying to like work through these traumas that they have, and the traumas manifest themselves in hurtful behaviors on their part, you know. Like there's like, you know, Rob earlier was talking about the Sniper Wolf fight, and it's like a very sad ending when she's lying there and she says, "Can you give me my gun?" Because that's one of the few things that she loves is that gun. That gun defines her. Her entire life has been defined by killing and the satisfaction that she gets from stalking her prey and killing. And she's literally holding the gun like
Yeah.
a stuffed animal to her chest as she dies, right? Like all these people have been defined by violence, and even Snake talks extensively about how he's just a killer, he's just a murderer, even though he works for the government and in a military fashion. He feels like all he's good for is killing people. And Meryl shows him that like there's can be a life outside of that. He can live his life as David. He doesn't have to be Snake forever, right? um you know, and I do think, and I'm gonna criticize Kojima a little bit here, because I Kojima is, I'll just put out there, Kojima is my all-time favorite creator of anything, any medium. He's my all-time favorite. I love Kojima, but you know, just because I love something, that doesn't mean I can't criticize it. But I don't think he writes women that well. Um,
No.
I think
No,
he has an
quiet. Yeah.
underlying layer of fucking gooner and horny in him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you play his old games, if you play like Police Knots or especially Snatcher, that motherfucker is horny. Some games,
Yeah.
Snatcher, you can literally sniff women. That's like you can literally like, there's it's like an adventure game, and you're just like look, listen, and you can like smell women and like fondle their boobs and their boobs jiggle. And like if you play Metal Gear, there's like
You can
the
make
VR
them jiggle with you.
missions. you can look up their skirts. There's
Right.
the
There's
posters.
posters everywhere of
Oh
models.
yeah, like
Yeah,
Metal Gear
I'm not
2.
offended by it. Offended by it, but I'm just saying that's how he views women. I mean, I think that he respects women, but I also think he is a gooner.
It's kind of like Tarantino with the foot fetish thing.
Yeah,
He's just putting it
Yeah.
all out there. It's like, this is me.
Well, I
yeah,
think Hideo might be a little bit of a foot guy. If you play Death Stranding 2, Elle
yeah.
Fanning's like whole character
Feet
arc is
tan.
like I gotta take my feet off or my shoes off, and then my superpowers come and all that, and they're always like, put your shoes on. She's like, no, and like they do that like all the time. Oh, yeah, and then of course. Quiet's character in Metal Gear
Yeah,
Solid 5 is just like straight up like even her like little avatar like on the corner of the screen is just her cleavage.
yeah.
And you're seeing that and you're like, why? Like what? And he's like, oh no, it'll make sense when the game comes out. Like
It
why
wasn't.
she's
I
like,
remember
oh
the explanation was stupid too.
yeah,
Like
she
Yeah, she has
something
to
with
needs
the
like
like
sun.
the
breathe through her
water.
skin or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
and,
she
like,
breathes through her skin. Yeah.
the
Like
thing
okay.
that's funny about Kojima is I don't even like it doesn't even bother me that he's a gooner, but just admit it. Like there's
Yeah.
another
Yeah,
creator
that
I
too.
really like, Yoko Taro. Yoko Taro is kind of like Kojima. He's very creative, thinks outside the box, experimental, art house. His games are incredible. He has sexy female characters, and I remember there's a game called Near Automata, and the girl in the game, she has a very sexy lingerie outfit, and there's like a thing you could do where you could walk around and she's wearing just like a bodysuit and a thong, and she's got like big juicy yams. And somebody asked him about it, and he's just like, I like asses, so I put it in there. I like butts.
At least he admits it,
And I fucking
and that's
respect
cool.
that. Bro is
Yeah.
like, I like butts, so I put sexy butts in my game.
He's
And I'm like,
standing his
what?
ground.
You
Yep.
ask Kojima, and he's like, well, actually, Quiet breathes through her skin, and that's why she has to wear a micro bikini and combat boots, and it's not fetish gear. There's an actual lore explanation. Bro, you just
Yeah.
like looking at hot chicks. Just admit it.
Yeah. If that's so
just said
true,
you
why
like
did he
hot
make
chicks.
her like so her boobs so big? Like I don't
Well,
know.
there's a part in that game too. Like if you're on the status screen, like when you're inside the helicopter, she's like bending over and like jiggling her tits like
Yeah.
in the camera. Like,
There's
bro,
that whole
just
scene where she's dancing in the rain. Yeah.
yeah, just say you like hot chicks, and nobody will judge you,
Yeah. At least
or they won't
Tarantino
judge you as hard.
yeah, at least Tarantino admits he likes feet,
Yeah.
So, people will say it's gross, but it's like, yeah, but at least the guy's like not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
And there's way worse fetishes to be ashamed of. Although, but we won't talk about feet for too long because that's just it's gonna get me grossed out. Do you think the game, because Kojima always wanted to not make sequels, like this game is actually a sequel to two MSX games, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, and he called this one Metal Gear Solid because it's in 3D, it's solid. Literally, that's why he put it in there. And then the other reason was because he thought, well, no one's gonna know these other two games,
Yeah.
outside of Japan. Do you think this game could have served as like a single story, or do you think like the sequels were necessary or helps build upon it?
I think the sequels were absolutely necessary. We're talking about 2, 3, and 4. Now, the
Yeah.
Phantom Pain and 5, I don't even like those games. I never finished the Phantom Pain.
Oh.
I think Guns and the Patriots was the perfect ending.
Yes, well, that was the bookend, and he didn't want to make that ending either. You could tell like when you're watching like that whole 70-minute epilogue, Kojima's like, "Okay, will you leave me alone? I'm done.
I've
Like,
covered
no more."
everything.
Yeah, but yeah, because when they announced Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm like, the story's over. But then when I saw how it was going to be about how Big Boss becomes evil, I'm like, oh, I actually want to see that. And I was
And then
so
you played
excited.
the game, and it's boring.
And I played
You do
it.
the same thing over and over.
They pulled the
So I never
write-in on
finished it.
you at the end. They're like, oh,
Not
you're
yet.
not actually Snake. You're the medic on the helicopter. Spoilers. And, well, that game was also unfinished because, like, right when the story
Well, yeah,
started getting
Konami took control away from him.
yeah, Konami's insane. I mean, they went nuts. And now that they can make games for cheaper, they're making money, like, with Silent Hill
They got
2
their slot
remake and-
machines all over the place. That's all
Yeah,
they
the
care about.
pachinkos.
pachinko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kojima. I feel like he loved Metal Gear, but he also felt stifled by it simultaneously.
And
Like I
exhausted
could,
by it.
Yeah, I could tell that he loved it all the way to the end, even when
Yeah.
Konami was kind of fucking him over. But I think that he seems happier now that he's kind of free. Like he's he still posts stuff about Metal Gear sometimes, but I feel like when he made his own studio, it kind of freed him from the shackles of Metal Gear. And even like if you play Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2, there's a character in Death Stranding 2 that is essentially like a snake type character that he
Yeah.
is kind of working through the emotions of what it's like to have something that like your entire life revolved around that he can't touch anymore. He can, like Konami owns Metal Gear, right?
Yeah.
So like he can't make Metal Gear games. They took it away from him. Like that,
Yeah.
but that's his the creation, but like he can't make Metal Gear anymore, right? So like it's got to be he's got to feel some type of way about that. I don't know what it would be like to create one of the most iconic and influential series of all time and then be told I can't make anything about it ever again, right? That's got to hurt in a way that I've never comprehended or happened to me. But
Yeah.
I I think he
Now,
was just trapped by
maybe
Metal
now he
Gear.
knows how David Hayter feels.
Yeah, that's true.
The best is yet to come, Kojima. Don't worry. But
But I think he works. But I do think that his work when he was with Konami, I, like, was a little bit more even, tighter. Like when he makes the Death Stranding games, they're like unleashed. It's Kojima, everything that's good and bad about him in equal measure. He has nobody telling him not to do stuff, or I'm sure people bounce stuff off of him and go, what? But he has the final word on everything. They're the most Kojima pieces of art that possibly could exist, and they're
Including
goofy
the
and
goofiest
amazing.
control schemes imaginable.
Yeah, they're incredible pieces of art. They're some of the most personal pieces of video game art I've ever played. It's everything he's ever thought was cool, everything he's ever loved, everything that no, there's goofy shit that I'm like, bro, why did you put this in here? And there's amazing things that I'm sobbing on my couch at 2 a.m. playing the game over over a fucking video game baby. And like, just
yeah.
it's like highs and lows with Death Stranding games. They're all over the place. You're feeling all kinds of feelings, which is cool. I love art that makes me feel all different kinds of feelings. But I think Metal Gear is like him with the restraints on. Like it's like it's him in golden handcuffs, if you
Yeah.
will, you know?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Death Stranding because I remember originally I trashed the game and then I'm like, I better go replay it. And then I did. And the best way to replay that game is just like play it and then like listen to a podcast while
Mm-hmm.
you're like on a long trip. And then when the music starts again from like low roar or something like that, you just pause the podcast and take part of the atmosphere. But yeah, like that game, I feel like that was like a reflection of him seeing that the world was becoming very cruel. Like everyone was being very cruel to each other, and especially what happened to him after Konami's like, well, I want to make a game where players connect together. They like what they're doing. They're helping each other out, and it's about rebuilding the world after it's fallen apart. Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
how he predicted COVID or whatever Trump launches the nuke.
Yeah.
He's predicted all. He's showing how the world could be a better place, and I feel like in a way, he's like, you don't have to be treated the way I was at Konami.
Yeah.
And this is how we can be better people. And that's what I found great about it. It was a video game that, yeah, his games do have violence in them because he knows it's like, it's fun. Pew pew is
Yeah.
fun. Like kicking dudes' asses is fun. But at the end of the day, you got to realize this is a video game. You are in the VR reality training simulation. And in reality, violence is bad, but no, violence is terrible for you. And it just leads to more destruction, more death, all the problems in the world. And he's reflecting this in a medium where I feel like Metal Gear is a better anti-violence statement than like The Last of Us Part 2 is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I respect what The Last of Us Part 2 tried to do, but it kind of felt like a standard revenge tale. Like, oh, you killed this person, I'm mad, now I'm gonna go kill you. The cycle of violence, blah blah blah. And it like the game made you feel uncomfortable and terrible killing people, and I like that. But at a certain point, it just became repetitive. Like, oh, okay, slitting another dude's throat, got it.
Yeah.
Where you had the Metal Gear games where you get into like Raiden's past or you get into Snake's past, where it's like you were just a clone, you were just made to kill people, you're just a tool of the government. And it was really about like Snake trying to break away from that government and be his own man. And yeah, like the game kind of ends on a note where it's like they're gonna go enjoy life and everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's gonna be roses everywhere, and Snake will show Meryl or Attica and all his huskies, and they'll be kissing their faces and all that. But you get the sequels, and yeah, it gets so much darker and so much deeper. My God, that second game, like I remember everyone hated it at the time, and I'm like, I love it. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
The second
But, yeah.
game is the greatest troll that's ever trolled in the history of trolling.
Yeah.
Seriously, I cannot get over the effort he put into making you think Snake was the main character in that game, and he wasn't.
And he had
That
to
is-
hold that
and-
secret for like years.
And they released a demo.
Yeah,
where you play as
the
Snake,
tanker.
I'm a
Yeah.
tanker, yeah.
so you think it's Snake, and then they bring out childbearing hips, Bishy Boy Ryan, who is the exact antithesis of like everything Snake is, and it's the most incredible swap I've ever seen. It's amazing. I could when I was playing as Ryan, I was like, what the fuck? Wait, where is Snake? What's happening? And then then you only get little tastes of Snake. Like Snake comes by and he does something, and he's always doing something cooler than you're doing. He's always like somewhere awesome and having a cool fight, and you're like somewhere like that's more lame than Snake. Like the entire game is just emasculating the player, which is I mean, I'm a girl, so it like didn't bother me much, I guess.
Yeah.
But the entire game is emasculating you. It's the entire game is like, you're not Snake. You're look, Snake's cool over there. You're not him.
He always
it's
has
just,
like
like,
a higher key card and
It's
everything too.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
I already
God, it's
defused
so
the
good.
bomb.
Yeah, I did this, I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go there and he already did cool stuff. Like he already handled it for you. And then you play part of the game, you're just naked.
Yeah.
Like, it
Doing
just
cartwheels.
humiliates
Yep.
you the entire game. It's so funny when I think about what were they thinking. It's so funny. Why were they like so mad at the player?
I think it was
It's the
because
greatest subversion ever.
the funniest thing is part of Kojima's greatest strength and weakness, which is he never wanted people to be like, oh, this game's about Snake. He wanted the players to feel like it's about them. But it's like,
Yeah.
if you did that, then why did you give Snake like this huge, rich backstory? That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But then, yeah, he introduces right in. He's this guy with blonde hair. He's got like a nasally voice. He complains about like everything he has to do. Campbell will be like, go do this. And he's like, I don't want to. And yeah, and then in the end, yeah, he's naked and he's running around covering his stuff. And then you find out about his whole backstory, about how Solidus was his dad and how he was a child soldier and he was born and bred to kill. And it kind of like made you reevaluate your idea of what a tough guy is, because by the end of the game, it's like, oh, it was part of a simulation to show how anyone can be Solid Snake. And yeah, that game had like the best series of twists, one after the other, because you could play a Metal Gear game, but then you want to like go back and see like all the things you've missed, because you know it's very, very thick. It's very layered.
And that subversion never really bothered me because the second one was the first one I finished anyway.
Yeah, see, it never
nice.
bothered me either. I was like, oh, this is cool. I was totally not expecting this. And I knew, and like, yeah, I would go. I remember I went to school. I was like in junior high at the time. No, I was in high school at the time. And all my classmates were like, you know, all my friends at least, they're like, that's dumb. Why am I playing as that guy? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't see it coming. And they want us to, it didn't feel like Last Jedi where like he did, like Ryan Johnson, he had good intentions. I liked what he tried to do. I just didn't like the tone and the structure in which he tried to do it. And here it's like they subvert your expectations, but look at Metal Gear Solid 2 years later. It's kind of like a Stanley Kubrick film. People like really appreciated it years after it came out. Although it was critically acclaimed at the time, players were like, whoa, why am I playing? It's this dork. And I'm like, because the whole point is that you're the character. But
It's crazy to follow up Metal Gear 1 with that game, though. That's like, Metal Gear 1 was an absolute smash hit. Everybody was just slobbering for Snake. They want more Snake. And to do that, it's so funny.
Can you imagine working for Sony? You're looking at the game like, all right, what do you got for us, Kojima?
Like, oh no,
what are you doing here?
I can't believe they let him do it. It's amazing to me. And it's on the new hardware, so they're trying to sell the new PS2.
Right, exactly.
It's gonna be a flagship motherfucking game.
Some
Oh my god.
Some
it's the
Sony
perfect
executive had to
situation.
be pissed off.
Oh my god.
They
Well,
wouldn't let you do that now, I don't think, in a AAA game.
no, the funniest thing is that like I watched like a behind the scenes documentary on the making of Metal Gear Solid 2 way back, and like they're talking to one of the guys who was like designing the characters, or whatever, and he's just like, "Yeah." So Kojima walks up to me and he says, "I want to have this new character be like this young, sexy guy instead of Snake." And I thought he was joking at first when he told me, and then I realized he was serious. And I'm like, that's probably what went through everyone's mind, like, wait a minute, this guy's serious. But it made sense. It's
Yeah.
like it was about how people are traumatized and conditioned to kill no matter who they are. You just all become part of a militarized system that the world works with. And of course, that was really capitalized in Metal Gear Solid 4 when they had the war economy and
Yeah.
the PMCs and all that. But yeah, this movie well, it is kind of a movie if you think about it. But this has always been my favorite game of all time. It's because it was the first game that made me realize, oh, games aren't just games. They can actually be a work of art and they can actually say something. How do you think Metal Gear Solid works as a piece of art? And why do you think most audiences kind of have this smug attitude about video games can't be stories? And is that shifting in some sort of way?
I just think it's a refusal to engage with it. People have these preconceived notions about what a video game is or the limitations are to them. And they just run with it and they don't bother to check out a game or check out the story. So yeah, I wish they weren't smug about it. But
Yeah.
you talked about how things are changing. I mean, look at movies right now like The Back Rooms and Obsession. They're made by YouTubers and they're making all the money right now. So I hopefully think that we are reaching a time where those times are changing and we will see more people open up their minds to different kinds of creators across all mediums.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is some people just don't play video games, so they think it's like Pac-Man still or
Yeah.
Mario
Exactly.
or whatever. They literally just don't know that other kinds of games
I
exist.
still hear people think every game has levels.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
haven't kept up with the evolution of gaming like we have. So they literally just don't know. Like a lot of times I'll tell people stuff and I'll explain a story to a game, they don't game. They're like, wow, that sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah, well, it's a game though. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, no, it's still good.
Yeah.
It's just a game.
Yeah, and people use games as a form of expression. Certainly, I think Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid are forms of expression for Kojima relating to war and empathy and human kindness. And then you got games like Dead Dragon Cancer, which is a game that a dad made documenting his son dying. And it wasn't made to be entertainment; it was made to be something that reaches out to other people who maybe are going through what he's going through. And oh my god, I was Niagara Falls playing that game. It was just emotionally crushing. But I guess one final question I'll have before we go out. They always have been talking for years about making a Metal Gear Solid movie. Would it be possible to adapt Metal Gear Solid? And should it be like a movie or a TV show? Maybe a collection of movies? How would you possibly cover that much ground?
so it should absolutely not be a movie. But
Mm.
because Kojima is obsessed with the movies, as we talked about, I think that's what he's always going to push for. I know
Mm.
the movie they were planning with Jordan Vogt Roberts as a director, that's been in development hell for so long because, as far as I know, he's canceled. I don't know who's attached to make it now, but I can't think of a single director that would do it justice. I think if you were going to adapt it, it would have to be a TV series.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
even then, I'm not sure it would work because, like we talked about, a lot of those tone balancing works because it's a game, because you're interacting with it in ways that are meant to cater to a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, do you have any thoughts, Michelle, on if this should be a show
Um,
or
I think it should not be ever. I think it would not work as a movie because
yeah.
it would either have to be done 100% serious,
Yeah.
which then it's like it's weird because so Metal Gear is like using movie tropes in the game, So but it uses like kind of like I would say it uses stuff that is kind of common in movies, but not common in games, right? So like in a game, it feels novel because like you're like, wow, But if you were just to translate it straight to a movie, it would be kind of like a run of the mill movie because you can't add all the weird game stuff, right? Like how would
Like
you do Psycho Mantis in the movie, right? Like it just wouldn't be as cool, like or it's so gamified. The game elements are so woven into the narrative that like you can't separate them and it be good. You need both halves need each other for Metal Gear as a concept to work. And I think Kojima could make an unrelated movie about a new thing and be good. I don't think I mean, if they made a Metal Gear movie now, I don't think he'd even be involved, right?
I don't know
Yeah.
if either of you have played any of the Yakuza games, but apparently they made a TV show based on that. They just removed all the goofy, wacky shit that gives it personality, and it's just like
Yeah.
a
Really?
it's like a
Wow.
bland, serious TV series that
Yeah,
has none of the charm of the games.
yeah, because Yakuza's really
Yeah,
silly.
those are
Yeah.
games that also go from like silly as hell to like really serious emotional stuff.
Yeah, like, I was thinking, how would you do Metal Gear? And I'm like, I think if they did make a movies, like you guys said, I didn't think about it, but yeah, the tone would be really, really hard to nail because I would try to make it grounded and serious, but then that would kind of lose some of the spirit of what the game is. Like, if it was a movie, I would say it would have to be a movie series. Like, movie one would be Shadow Moses Island, or maybe movie one and two would be Shadow Moses Island. And then, you'd have the next movie be the plots of Metal Gear 2 or a series of movies. And then movie 3, you'd get into Big Boss's story. And then you would get into how he becomes evil, like the Metal Gear Solid 5 I wanted, which would be like a movie after that. And then the final movie would be Metal Gear Solid 4, which would be a 2. So you could make multiple
But
like
just
two and a
remember
half hour movies.
that ending to Metal Gear Solid 4 alone is the length of a movie.
Yeah, it's 70 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. And just like, yeah, I don't know how you would have the audience take that seriously because, you have childhood abuse and murder and, like Metal Gear Solid 5, you're like freeing kids so you can have them join your own private army. How are you going to go from that to a cyborg ninja to a mind reader, to Otacon pissing his pants to
Yeah.
like all that stuff,
Bisexual vampires,
yeah.
a guy that's the personification of grief,
Constipated soldiers.
a dude that shoots bees.
Oh, yeah. That was my one flaw with Metal Gear
Don't
Solid
forget a
3.
fat dude on roller skates setting bombs.
Fat
everywhere.
Man. They literally just call him Fat. I love the name to all the characters in Death Stranding, just like Doll Man, CD Man, Shoes Man, whatever.
Die Hard Man is the coolest name I've ever heard, and I will
And
hear no
predicted
different.
the future. Like it predicted Nicholas Winding Refn would have heart
Yes, I
problems.
saw
Yeah.
that. Somebody was. I remember. I saw it on Instagram, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, Heartman!" And some guy was like, "Why are you guys bringing up a video game in this very serious thing?" I'm like, "Dude, it's literally his
Right.
character in the game does this. Like, it's crazy."
Yeah, he like kills himself or like has his heart stop for a little bit so he can find his family or something.
Yeah, his heart stops every 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it's every turn, and then he comes back to life. So I don't know.
Death
I feel
Stranding
like
too.
yeah, I played both. I did an essay on both games, and
I've only
yeah.
played the first few hours of the second one still. I really gotta
Oh,
get back into it.
oh yeah, that's right. I don't know if yeah. So you didn't get to the. I want you to see my essay, but I don't want you to. I don't
No.
want to ruin the dance scene for you.
I think the last thing I
Yeah.
did was go to Australia, which is still kind of in the beginning.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And it has one of my favorite openings. So they're playing minus
That opening is
61.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he's
Oh,
running on
one
those
last thing
mountains.
I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You're talking about low roar and all. Kojima will turn you on to some amazing music just by playing
Mhm.
some
Oh,
of his
man.
newer. Yeah.
Even his trailers will like turn you on
Mhm.
to. There was a trailer for Metal Gear Solid 5. I don't have the song on me. I do have it on me, but I don't know the name of it in my head. But it was just like a really dark, disturbing thing where I'm like, "Oh, I want that song." But yeah, he has amazing.
Was it the man who
taste.
sold the world? Or was it a different
No,
one?
it wasn't that. It was something called. There's no lyrics. It
Oh,
just
okay.
goes like yeah. So it's hard to explain it when there's no lyrics to it. But yeah, I could talk forever about this game. and these games. But I think for now, I think I've got all my key cards and I'm ready to input the code to end the episode. But
You have to
guys,
freeze them and heat them up first.
Yeah,
yeah, well,
you have to leave for 30 minutes and then you have to take them across town and back.
yeah, it was cold originally when I had it in my freezer, and then I sat on it, and my butt made it warm, so it's okay now. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. You can find all of their work in the description below. It'll have the links to all their stuff. But if you guys liked what you saw or liked what you listened to, remember to go to ypareviews.com. The YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree, where you can see episodes of the show. And I don't know why you started on that. And maybe I'm like Olga's daughter or something like that. And you can also check out the podcast. You can check out written reviews, all that good stuff. So until then, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you can find some love on the battlefield. Good night, folks. And outro.